Alright, welcome everybody to yet another mixing video. Today we're going to look at LCR panning. So LCR panning stands for left, center, right. And if you look at any DAW or any mixer, you can pan center, and then you could go left or right in any amount. So for me, I personally like just panning things left, center, or right. Every so often I'll pan things like 25% to the left or something like that, but that's very seldom. And things that I might do that for is like a shaker that I'm not too fond of. I don't want it taking up too much space, so I'll put it maybe halfway or 25% or something like that. But for the most part, I keep things left, center, or right. And things that I like to keep in the center are usually kick, bass, and lead vocals. And sometimes I'll have like a guitar or something in the center, but I'll turn it down to just create a little bit of depth, but and also leave some room for the elements that are mainly in the center, which again are kick, snare, bass, and vocal. For me, you can pan things however you want, but that's generally how I pan things. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the drums. I'll pan those around, and I'll just go through. Then I'll do bass, guitar, piano, etc. And after I'm done, I'll kind of explain why I pan things the way I did. So let's get started. I should go ahead and tell you that this is turned down quite a bit, so you might need to turn your speakers up. I forgot to mention that. And what I'll do is, after I'm done with the panning, I'll leave a little bit of time so you can go ahead and turn your speakers back down without my voice blowing up your ears. Okay, so let's go ahead and start again.
How can we even go on? How can we even go on? How can we even go on?
Okay, so let me explain why I panned things the way I did. So as I said before, I keep the kick and snare in the center. Now as far as hi-hat, for some reason I really like it on the left. Don't ask me why. I just always like it on the left. Maybe it's because if you were sitting behind the drum kit, that's where it would be. I think that's why in my head I like the way that sounds. But I almost always pan it to the left. As far as overhead, left and right, that's self-explanatory. Same with room left and right. As far as rack toms, I put that to the left, which most of the time I don't like things with that much low end panned. But when a drummer does a drum fill, it's nice to have things go from left to right. So I'll usually pan some of the toms left and some of them right, to make it sound like it's going do 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 do, from left to right. If you know what I mean. But we just have one rack mic. We don't have multiple toms, so the only way I could really recreate that is have the rack on the left and the floor tom on the right. So when I actually mix this, I'll be taking quite a bit of low end out of those, so it doesn't muddy up on the sides. And I think, I don't play drums, but I think most of the time drummers have their floor tom on the right. Bass I keep in the center. In fact, I have it as a mono group if you saw my routing video, and it's panned in the center. For guitar solo, I would pan that in the center because that's kind of, it's your lead. When the lead vocal is going, that's in the center because it's the main focus, right? So in this song, the lead vocal drops out, so let's have that solo shine, you know what I mean? Okay, so this is a double of a guitar part, like an octave up, and it only happens in the chorus. So I kept that in the center, and when I balance this, I'll bring that down quite a bit to leave room for the vocal, and it'll just add a little bit of depth, which is kind of why you would add a double an octave up or an octave down. So yeah, that's why I chose to keep that in the center. But like I said, I would turn it down quite a bit to leave some room for the vocal. Okay, the next guitar. So this guitar is very busy. So I panned it to the right because usually the hi-hat is pretty busy. On the drums, it plays the smallest increment of time. So the hi-hat was on the left. So to make the left side not sound so busy, I pan this to the right to complement it. Okay, so next guitar, I pan this to the left because I wanted to have some stereo image amongst the guitars, and it's like it's either half notes or whole notes. I can't remember off the top of my head. I know I just listened to it, but I wasn't paying too much attention. Anyway, it's held out note values, so I panned it to the left because it's not gonna muddy up that hi-hat. As far as acoustics, they're both playing the same thing, so I just panned them left and right to once again widen up the stereo image in the chorus, which is what I think they were going for in this song. The piano, it only plays like 3 notes in the middle of the song here, right before the solo. So when I was initially going through this, I thought, okay, 2 piano tracks, it's a double, so I'll pan it left and right. But I noticed that it was doubling what the vocal harmonies are doing. So I figured, well, the vocal harmonies are definitely going to be left and right. There's 4 of them. And so I decided to put the piano in the center. There's no lead vocal going on, so I figured having the piano in the center will kind of break it up a little bit, let you hear that a little more. Okay, so for these hums, it was broken up as male, female, female, male. So what I did was I kept the male vocals on the left and the females on the right. That was the thought process behind that. And then for the background vocals, same deal there. Okay, and my lead vocal, so that just stays in the center. Yeah, so that's why I chose the panning that I did, and that'll give things a nicer stereo image. Because for me, I like to think of sound as a 3-dimensional thing. Okay, so there's an X, Y, and Z axis in my mind. So your X-axis, which would be your horizontal axis, would be panning, which is what we just covered. Your Y-axis, which is your vertical axis, up and down, is EQ, because you can make things high or low, right? That's what frequency is. And then your Z-axis, which would be your depth, can be created by all sorts of things. But for me, the main is amplitude or volume. You can create depth in a bunch of different ways with your attack and release settings on a compressor. But for me, it's mainly volume. So I nowadays, when I do mixes, I'm thinking about 3D depth and imaging more than just about anything else. Of course, you want to get things balanced correctly and EQ'd to where they're sitting right. But I think to take it that extra step, you need to think about imaging and depth. So that's where I'm at now, and I hope that watching videos like these can help you guys start thinking about that too, because having that mentality really takes your mixes to another level. So I know this was another simple one, but this is something that a lot of people ask about. And I know when I first started mixing, I panned things all wacky. Bass to the left, kick drum on the right, And, there's no right or wrong, but, there's kind of a standard way that people do things. But, with mixing, whatever sounds good is what is good. So if you like it, that's fine. But kind of have a thought process why you're panning things the way you are. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please give it a like. If you didn't, go ahead and give it a dislike. As I always say, you're entitled to your opinion. And if you really like this, go ahead and subscribe or leave a comment. And, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching these and giving me feedback. And I've been surprised that I've gotten some subscribers pretty quickly. So thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.